Welcome to another episode of Ahead of the Curve podcast. This is season 1, episode number 13. Well, good evening, Ahead of the Curve podcast here. My name is Crystal, and
Ntangwa Mukosa.
You guys have reached us at season 1, episode number 13. We are so excited you guys have decided to join us. We have a phenomenal guest speaker on tonight. This woman is just dynamite when it comes to the legal profession, and we are so excited that she has joined us this evening. So let's go ahead and get into who this woman is. So Miss Lisa Finaldi Simmons, just a little bit about her background. Lisa has been a fierce advocate for injured clients since graduating law school in 2001. She graduated with the top 5% of her class in the Stetson University College of Law in St. Petersburg, Florida. And while in law school, she was the managing editor of the Stetson Law Review and was a member of the Stetson trial team. Lisa was awarded the Cecil C. and Augusta Bailey Scholarship and the Walter Mann Award. Now, guys, the Walter Mann Award is given to one student of each graduating class who has shown the greatest promise of becoming an outstanding leader in the legal profession. She received her Bachelor's of Arts degree in Interpersonal Communications from the University of Central Florida in Orlando, Florida. And Lisa is an adjacent professor at Berry Law School, where she teaches trial advocacy. She has been married to her husband, Jody, since 1996, and they have 3 beautiful children, Joseph, Leo, and Rosalina. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and bring her on. Miss Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Miss Lisa, the first question I have is directly with on the screen. How did you get the peer-rated highest level professional of excellence in 2020?
Well, Martindale-Hubbell is a legal book that has been out there forever, and they are the ones that look at your successes and peers, and they do a huge background check on you, and that's how you can get preeminent.
Very cool.
Wow,
Very
nice,
cool.
nice. Alrighty. So, Lisa, we wanted to get straight into it, but before we get started, right?
Mhm.
You know, I've got my patented Lipton, black tea over here with a little lemon, a little ginger in there, a little sugar. And what are you drinking, Coach K?
I think the same. Thank you for making it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lisa, do you got anything to drink over there?
Yes, I do. I have lemon and ginger tea.
Wow.
Awesome.
Nice, awesome.
Well,
So, Lisa, getting into the first question, what motivated you to become an attorney? I think the viewers would be interested in really figuring out, what was step one?
Well, I don't know if it was, something that I ever planned on doing. It was just something that I did as a continuation. So when I was in high school, I really did not like school at all. Did not like the teachers, did not like people telling me what to do. But I was always a hard worker because my parents were both born, raised, and married in Italy, and came to the States. And that's the one thing that they always instilled in their 3 girls. So I started working on my 16th birthday. And before I graduated high school, I went and got a second job. And I was working at a local hospital, and realized that was not for me. Those 2 jobs together was not what I wanted to do forever. So I decided, what can I do that can give me a profession, if you will, in the least amount of time, because I was not going to college. So I ended up getting a paralegal certificate degree, and it was only 8 months. I'm like, I can do 8 months. I was like, all right, I can stand, back in the classroom for that time. So I continued working at Publix at night. That was my 16th birthday job, and finished my certificate at Kaiser College. And then I started working as a paralegal specialist, and I never stopped going to school. I just continued my education at night while I worked, and everybody's like, who are you?
You became a professional student, right?
Well, but they just, since I did not like school so much, they couldn't believe that I continued on. So I was a paralegal for 8 years before I went to law school. And so it was just the next progression. It was just the next thing that I was going to do.
Very cool. Very
Nice.
cool.
Lisa, hearing your story, it's really amazing to kind of dabble into the fact that, having, immigrant parents really taught you a strong work ethic, And shout out to Miss Paula Wells, who's a networking tycoon, was on our podcast earlier. And, she kind of, a lot of the, hard work and just learning it from her parents who are from Greece. And, it just blows my mind at how, when you come over here to land of the free, home of the brave, it really opens up a lot of doors. And, hard work and work ethic just seems to be the secret sauce, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, it's hard on the kids because you're not just a child, right? You're actually assisting your parents the entire way through.
Yeah.
So, you're communicating for them, you're talking for them, there's a lot of responsibility on the kids, and you have to grow up kind of fast.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you have a family business like I did. My mom had me in the shop like early.
Like 5.
My dad did construction. He did slabs, and he had me out there on the weekends, digging the foundation. So
wow,
that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I remember my great grandfather used to have me on the tractor with him, and just be sitting on his lap, and we just be driving. He was driving it, of course, but I was learning very young.
And he loved you being there, I know.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dig right into this. So fast forward all these years, you now have been in the legal profession for how many years total now?
19
years. That is amazing.
Wow.
And you know what? I think this is really what differentiates you from other attorneys is you have gone through you're what we call a bulldog attorney. I mean, you know the law, you've gone through all the experience. So now let's just kind of dig into what does a professional personal injury attorney do?
And before we get started, Lisa, I just want to tell all the viewers, okay, grab your pen, paper, whatever you got. I've got my little, notepad here. Pull the pen out. I'm going to be taking notes because she's going to be dropping a lot of gems on y'all. So
Yes.
Pull the pen and paper, take notes.
All right, so what does a personal injury attorney do?
So personal injury attorney helps someone who's been injured or the family of someone who has died because of the negligence of somebody else. So negligence is a big word, but what that means is that somebody didn't do what they should have done or did something that they shouldn't have. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Now, does it always end up in somebody passing away or?
Nope. So an injured person, someone.
Okay, injured.
Yep. So I handle personal injuries and also wrongful death cases. So the negligence is typically the same. It's just whether it results in a personal injury, someone's still alive, or someone passes away.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about these different areas real quick that we see here. If you could just kind of run through those for me real quick. We'll start with the nursing home. We'll come back to the auto and trucking in a minute.
Great. So I handle nursing home neglect cases, and that is an example of that is that I had a client who went and had hip surgery.
Okay.
And after hip surgery, he went to a skilled nursing facility. And during his stay at the skilled nursing facility, his wife had come in and he seemed like he was going downhill. And within a couple of days, she had called 911 and he was taken to the hospital. And what we learned, and when she got to the hospital with him, is that he had actually been dropped during his stay and had refractured his hip where the prosthetic was. So that's an example of the nursing home neglect that I've helped. And what I want to really, I'm sorry.
I said, ouch.
Yeah, I know. And the one thing that I want to kind of tell your viewers is that there are a lot of good sites on what you should do when you are selecting a nursing home to send your loved one. And those sites you can see on resources on my website later. But definitely research, research, research. There's a lot of information out there.
Awesome, awesome. So these are all the different areas that you practice then?
Yes.
Medical malpractice, premise liability. All right, awesome.
Can you give some of the viewers at home an example of, medical malpractice and, what should they look for and, what happens during and after?
Really important. And this just goes along the board. So an example of the medical malpractice case I had, if that will be helpful, is that I had a case where a retired colonel went into the emergency room because he was having chest pain. And they did a stress test on him and they decided to keep him overnight. Well, in the emergency room, he did have a chest x-ray done. And that chest x-ray was done, and unfortunately nobody looked at the results, and it did show a mass in his upper left lobe of his lung, and so it continued, and then he ended up passing away because of the failure to diagnose the lung cancer early on. So what should somebody do? Number one is research the hospital, research the doctors before you go to them. You should always have somebody with you. It's always so important to have a second set of ears and a second set of eyes, because sometimes it's very stressful in a situation when you're in a room with doctors, and it kind of, makes everybody very uncomfortable, and you may not be hearing everything. So it's important to be to have someone with you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's important, especially for anybody, because we all have, whether it's your grandparents or, an older uncle and aunt, or even just your own parents, right? For me, always taking care of those that you love and staying ahead of the curve in terms of, whatever you need to do is what this entire podcast is about. So, today we're really going to be sharing more nuggets and, so moving forward, how about the
premise liability, negligent security.
Exactly.
What is that?
All right, so premise liability, an example that I have is that a client of mine was at a seminar at a very large hotel, and she was assisting somebody to come out of the door, and there was a concrete encased light on the ground that did not have any type of warning or anything, and so unfortunately she tripped and fell over it and then hurt her shoulder in it. So the one positive thing about that is once I got involved, we were able to get the whole thing reconstructed because it wasn't in a safe condition. But what is really important if you have a slip and fall or a fall anywhere is to take pictures. And I know that's not something that you're thinking about when you've just fallen and you're hurting, but it's so important because you have the burden of proving that they did something wrong or that they didn't do something that they should have done. And the only way you can do that is by having evidence of it. So pictures of the scene is really important.
Right.
I'm taking notes of that.
Okay, the other thing is
part about taking pictures is that you get a timestamp on your cell phone now, right? Everyone's got these magical devices. You just snap and it's always timestamped.
Awesome.
So important. The other thing is really important is to make sure that you keep all of your clothes that you were wearing that day in your shoes. Make sure you kept them. And because that becomes really important down the road, because they always want to say it's your own fault for slipping and falling and so forth. So that's important for you to do during that time. And if there are any witnesses, please take down their name and number so that we can contact them later or whomever you hire.
Awesome. Lisa, this is key and vital information. So I want to thank you so much, because tonight this podcast is really honing in on, I mean, especially people like our age, like we don't know some of these things. And like we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to know ahead of time what they need and what they're going to need during that that incident. So these are key nuggets. I want to thank you so much for going over these with us. I want to kind of fall into our next question, which we're going to now go into the auto trucking accidents, because this, we had never been in an accident. And just the other day we were in an auto accident. Somebody had hit us from the back end and kind of startled us, and so here we are. So let's go ahead and focus on the auto accidents now. How do our viewers stay ahead or prevent from getting behind the curve when it comes to auto accidents? Let's talk a little bit like the before, the during, and the after. If you can just kind of talk to us a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah. So there are things that that everybody should be doing today. That is so important to help you and stay ahead of the curve if you ever do get involved in an auto accident. And the first thing is to take a look at your auto policy. It is important that your auto policy includes uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage.
Okay.
And why is that so important? Is because in the state of Florida, you don't have to purchase what's called bodily injury coverage. And that helps someone who's been injured in a crash that you caused. Okay. So, for example, if you're at an intersection and somebody is driving and they run through an intersection and they hit you and you are injured in that crash, they don't have to have coverage that would pay or compensate you for your injuries. So the only way you could do is protect yourself by purchasing uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. So take a look at your policies, everybody, please, and make sure that you have some amount of UM. You have to protect yourself.
Awesome. And I think, did we talk about PIP insurance? Was that?
I could, yep.
What is that?
So the only two coverages that are required in the state of Florida is to have PIP, is personal injury protection, and that pays for your own medical bills no matter who's at fault. All right, so that's what that coverage is for. The other coverage that's required is called property damage, and that is to cover the other person's vehicle damage if you're at fault. So there's no injury coverages that are required in the state of Florida.
Awesome. Okay. So, I mean, and also being preventative, guys, wear your seatbelts, okay? I know there's a few, young viewers out there that just like to ride around, and wearing your seatbelt is pretty much for your own protection. Because like you said, you never know when somebody's going to run through a red light and catch you, right on your T-bone. All righty.
Well, if I could add on there, legally though, it's so important, because say that scenario of somebody running a red light and smashing and T-boning you and you are just really hurt. Well, guess what the other side gets to do? They get to say that you're partly at fault for your injuries because you weren't wearing your seatbelt.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. Hey, I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah. It is not. Yeah, you should definitely, because it doesn't help. It doesn't benefit you legally if you're not wearing your seatbelt.
Awesome. Okay. So let's go into the second part of it. So what to do if you are in an accident? What are some things you would recommend?
Pictures, just kind of like in the medical malpractice and nursing home, that was research. This is pictures. And so pictures of your vehicle damage, pictures of the other person's vehicle damage, really important, because you cannot get that until you file the lawsuit. So it is important that you get their pictures, and it's important to get pictures of the scene. Like, so where everybody was at, where were the cars at rest? And if it's not you taking those pictures, maybe you can get somebody else to, if you're really injured, and you're not able to, get somebody else to take those pictures for you.
Okay, awesome. All right.
And so during a crash, so what happens next? Do you go and talk to, the person that you're involved in the accident with, whether they rear-ended you or whether you, bumped into them?
You call your insurance? Do you call police? What do you do?
Real important. Call 911. You should definitely have a crash report. You should make sure you're calling 911. The police are coming out, that it's all being documented. And especially if you're hurt, they need to get, the ambulance there ASAP.
Right.
If you are able to walk out, then it's fine to go check on the other person that was involved in the crash. Realize though that what he or she says or what you say as well to each other can be used, in the courts later. So that's important. But yes, call your insurance as well if if you're not as hurt. And the reason being is because you may need to have your vehicle towed away, and they will be able to guide you on the right path as to who to call.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. So
do you actually exchange the person's name, number, driver's license, insurance information at the crash site? Do you wait for the crash report before you do that? Because this is a topic where some of our viewers, have kind of never been taught that, right? Most parenting doesn't even include hey, this is what happens during, a car accident, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. No, you should. But whether it's a deputy with the sheriff's office, or a trooper with Florida Highway Patrol, or a police officer with one of the municipalities, the cities, they will be the ones getting all that information for you and putting it in the report. So you need to make sure you have your registration, your driver's license, your insurance card to give to the law enforcement. If you don't call law enforcement, then you definitely need to exchange that information with each other at the scene.
And they need to call Lisa Finaldi Simmons right away.
Well, I actually recommend that, you go and see a doctor right away. All right. Okay. So, and why is that so important is because in Florida, if you do not seek medical care and attention within 14 days of the crash, your PIP benefits that we talked about before that were, you pay premiums for $10,000. Well, if you don't go within those 14 days, then it's actually reduced down to $2,500. So that's really, really, really important. And then, you can call me.
Right. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So just a quick question. I know, that I know some of our viewers will have is, so we had both insurances calling us. Should we be talking to both insurances?
That's a good question.
Excellent question. Such a good question. Thank you. Yes, you should. You have an obligation under your policy to speak with your own insurance carrier, okay? So your company, absolutely. Speak to them. The other side, you have no obligation to speak to them, and especially don't provide a recorded statement. Right. That's really important. No need to talk to the other side. You're not under any obligation, and if you do, don't agree to a recorded statement. You can speak to the other side, though, about your property damage, right? Because they're initially responsible because of property damage coverage. They are responsible to cover your vehicle. But and there's always two different adjusters. There's a property damage adjuster, and you could talk to them about just the property damage part of it. But then there's also a bodily injury adjuster. So if that second adjuster gives you a call and says, oh, can I take a recorded statement? Just say, no, I don't. No, Just say
Call
no.
Lisa Finaldi Simmons.
Then you can call Lisa Finaldi Simmons.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
And then, kind of post accident, so you definitely recommend going to go see some physician, personal injury doctor, and, chiropractor, etc., right?
You do, yes. You need to seek some a medical doctor, and actually to be able to meet that 14-day requirement, it has to be a medical doctor that is signing off on the emergency medical condition, the EMC,
Okay.
and that has to be an MD, not a chiropractor.
Okay.
And then at that point, the viewers want to know, do you take pictures of any cuts or bruises that you might find out later?
Absolutely. Pictures, pictures, pictures. And pictures is along all of these, right? I mean, pictures are what? A picture is worth 1,000 words, and so important. So true. So yes, take pictures of your injuries, and they will disappear. So take periodic pictures of whatever injuries you have.
Okay.
Awesome. So real quick, we also are getting to the portion where we talk about the online resources. And I know, Lisa, on your website, we kind of did our research, and we did our research before we invited you, and we found all these resources that we kind of wanted to share with the viewers, that include all that information about researching a nursing home. Do you want to walk through some of the links that you've shared and why you put them up on your website?
Absolutely. So ACA, the first one that you have here is the Agency for Healthcare Administration, Consumer Resources, and that's really important. That's one that you can research any healthcare facility on there. I'm not sure if this one is showing it. Maybe it might have been before this. Yeah, so Florida Office of Insurance Regulations, you can click that link and it will tell you your physicians if they've had any settlements. So if they've had any medical malpractice claims that they've had to pay out. So that's an amazing link. And the link that's before that is just the history of your doctor. And it will tell you where they went to college, where they've practiced, their residencies, their internships, any board certifications. And there is where you'll see whether they've had any claims in the past 10 years. And then you can go to the next link that will show what those claims were.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I also see you've got the vehicle VIN number and driver license info. Wow, thank you so much, Lisa. You are very
very thorough.
Oh, before we move on, is there any books that you would love to recommend that you're reading, or any other resources?
Well, I read for fun. I mean, I try because
she's already read so much, right?
Right.
I know. I seem to be. So I love Balducci. I like those. I'm reading The Redemption right now. That's on my dresser upstairs. But it's interesting. I do have this book that I just ordered. It's called Civics, Law, and Justice: How We Became U.S. So I still am pretty geeky and will read.
That is awesome. Okay. Always keeping up to date. Awesome. So I just want to, highlight some of your testimonials because, as we do research. And I just saw some of these, and another thing I guess I should say that really I feel differentiates you from other attorneys is that, going through all of the testimonials, the constant words that I saw was professional, ethical, competent. She has your highest recommendation. Just people are completely happy with their service. 5.0. I'm gonna start calling you Miss 5.0, okay? But it's just really awesome to see that, and I know we've actually utilized your services, and we can't thank you enough for how much you've done for us. And so
and guys, I want to take a moment to just give a shout out to Lisa, because when we had our little accident, she really, took time to break down complex legal matters into bite size that I could understand, being an engineer and just kind of not really being well versed
Right.
in, the law or, a civical matter, I guess.
Right.
And so I think that's your superpower, is in to take something really complex and put it over here and explain it to people and go, okay, this is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
And even in this podcast, you've just done such a great job of informing our viewers,
Exactly.
about the small little things that they need to pay attention to that we can all do, right?
Right. And I did want to mention too that I noticed, in reading that it's not just vehicles, but it could be boats as well. And I did want to highlight that because we have a lot of ocean out here in Florida, and back home
And
in
lakes.
Mexico, where I'm from, we have a lot of lakes, and we used to have a boat back home. And so that as well is part of what you do as well, correct?
Yes, I've had quite a few. Some are really sad. I had deaths of an engineer, unfortunately, and a CPA. They were found deceased in their cabin because of carbon monoxide poisoning that had come through the bulkhead. So, yeah, the bulkhead was not sealed, so that would be a manufacturer's defect. So it's a products liability case.
Oh, wow.
All right, so kind of winding down here. There are so many young ladies that are going through the law program and wanting to become attorneys, wanting to maybe one day open their practice. What kind of advice do you have for any young ladies thinking of starting maybe their own practice or becoming an attorney? What kind of advice would you give to them?
It's tough. I mean, it is just, you've got to put in the time. You got to put in, you got to get all the, your bumps and bruises, and it's not glorious in the beginning. You just got to grind and grind and grind, and you're going to get all the grunt work in the beginning, and then eventually it's going to take, I tell my students a lot of times, it's like if you're expecting to come out as an attorney in the legal field and it's going to be wonderful and you're going to have this great work-life balance in the beginning, I try to tell them that's not reality.
Right.
It is a lot of work. It is not a 9-to-5 job with 3 weeks of vacation every year. It's a 24/7 job,
Right.
and 7 days.
Maybe we can have you back and maybe do one in regards to how to live with an attorney. That might be a good one. We'll have your husband on.
And professions that, I guess my quote is, sometimes the reward is great, but the hours are crazy, right? Yeah. Whether you're an engineer, whether you're a professional golfer, and it's not sunshine and rainbows. And so this has got to be something that you love, are passionate about, and, kind of gets you up in the morning to get, to work excited.
There is not one thing that is better than helping a family or somebody in a very, very difficult time of their life. It's just, there's so much reward for me in being there and helping them through that. That's what makes it, that's why I still do it.
Right, that is awesome. Well, just for our viewers, how can people get a hold of you? And I think we've got the phone number here, the 407-897-2081 for Orlando Trial Attorney. Is that the correct number?
That is.
Awesome. And I absolutely love your quote. The great man can protect themselves, but the poor and humble require the arm and shield of the law. And that is just amazing.
So when I was in college and I got the Walter Mann Award, I had to give a presentation during graduation, and that was my quote. It's still to this day, it's me. It's the David versus Goliath, and here I am. I feel comfortable in the David position.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for your wanting to join us and be on here with us. I appreciate you, and
Hey guys, go to orlandotrialattorney.com. Check it out, /resources. If you want to go and just do your research, all right? I mean, Lisa's taking time out of her day to share this vital information with, those that, are humble and those that require protection. So protect yourself ahead of the curve. That way you're not trying to mitigate risks.
I just had an idea to our viewers. Guys, if you have your insurance and you keep that in your car, put this phone number in your car as well. So that way, if anything ever happens, you know exactly where to go. So Lisa, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. God bless you, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, just a little special thanks to our sponsors. We've got ID Shield Independent Associates, helping protect your most valuable asset, your good name. We've got Makosa Shops, face masks, helping you to protect yourself. And then we've got Makosa Golf, helping you with all your golf needs, from instruction to charity and everything in between.
Making golf enjoyable.
Guys, this is another episode